Hey, Arlen.
Hey, Logan. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, I got a house from Joe. I imported it. Did I forget anything here to like check before importing?
Well, you'll want to do that replace lights by prefabs and generate trims as well.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just put that whatever. And I'm having an issue. I'll probably show you once this is done, but with the geometry importer, when I try to like get the materials or something like that, I can't scroll down. Have you had that problem before?
Yeah, there's no sometimes on the configurator thing when all the options are broken out like that, it gets too long, and I guess they just never added a scroll wheel to the interface. I think I asked Kevin about that a while ago. I don't think he's gotten time to go back and check on it. The thing about his interiors is there's no configuration for interiors. There's no way to set it up, so you don't have to really ever do that. If you're doing an interior, there's no need to do the configuration at all.
Okay, cool. Awesome. When exporting these things, it should still all be the same as the exterior, correct? Nothing
Yeah, it's
else
the
like.
same exact process. Yeah.
Okay, good. Awesome. Ooh.
Okay.
So
So, yeah.
Joe just wanted us to do the kitchen. We can go through the whole thing if you want. Just depends on whatever you want to go through.
No, the kitchen is good because the kitchen is basically the core of the house, and anything you do in the kitchen, if other rooms are required, it's the same process. So what you'll want to do is actually turn off that exterior evening one. Just do the interior shared. So turn that off. And then as well, you're gonna want to disable main scene exterior light under your main scene there. Just turn that off. There you go. That was blowing out the scene a little bit. So here, now it looks like you've only got one light per object, so that's good. So there was a thing where it was replacing each light object 3 times because of the way that the Revit is built out. So if you click on one of those lights, take a look and see what the properties are. So under shadow map. Oh, weird. These aren't really configured correctly, but that's okay. That they're working on automation to configure these more. But actually, if you go down under shadow map, what's there? So it's off. Okay, cool. So one thing I would do is go into your hierarchy and search for point light. Now select all of them under your default scene. No, you'll wanna scroll to select. If you hit Control A, if you have more than one scene open, yeah, there you go. Um, it'll select the ones in the other scene. So go to the properties in the right there in the inspector. Scroll up. There you go. Change the radius to 3. Change intensity to 100. And then change the range to 10. That'll be a better starting point. And then there's that documentation on lighting practices that you'll want to do. What you'll also want to do is probably, is this house 1 level or 2?
I think it's one level. Yeah, it's one level.
1 level.
Wait.
Okay. Does it have a basement or anything?
Uh, maybe. I think
Yeah, it
so.
looks like it does. Okay.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can go in and just delete all the lights in the basement.
Okay.
I don't think there's a quick way to do that necessarily because it's not going to differentiate it in the hierarchy.
Yeah.
What I would do then is just deselect everything and um, exit out of the sort of sorting. I think that one is, yeah, okay. So yeah, down here in the basement, just delete all of the lights.
This one, yeah. Kind of hard to tell which one's where. Cool. I think that's most of them.
Okay, that's a good start. So what it's doing is it's when it got imported, it populated a point light under each of the like light objects that are created in Revit, which is good. It gives us something to start with, but we always want to call some because there is a light limit inside of Unity with the rendering path that we use, especially with point lights, and that's why you're seeing some sort of graphical glitches on sort of the edges or in certain areas. So as you go through here, I'm trying to think what you'll want to do too is areas outside of the kitchen. You'll probably want to delete lights there, but not too many because what part of the lighting setup is going to be determining which ones get shadows and which don't. So yeah, garage probably doesn't need any lights. If there's any exterior lights that might have come through, you can get rid of those. So this one over the entryway. That one you'll probably want to keep actually. So anything you could see while you're in the kitchen, you'll want to keep. Anything that you know you're not going to be able to see while you're in the kitchen, you can get rid of.
So let me see.
I think this is a bedroom. You can probably get rid of what's in here. It's weird is there's so many lights in the living room and kitchen area. There usually aren't that many, but
You can get rid of these ones in the bathroom.
yeah, for now. You'll probably want to, if we move on to a bathroom, you'll probably have to relight it, but it'll be okay. We'll just add it one when we get there. You can probably delete this one in here as a bedroom. We're not going to be looking at that. And it looks like there's one in the floor. Must be from the basement, yeah. Looks like there's a couple in the basement there.
Oh, wow.
That you might have missed, yeah.
What?
Yeah, in fact, getting rid of all these will probably put us in a good spot. It looks like this is maybe a duplex where both sides are sort of identical. And that might be why there's so many lights too. Like sometimes we do get duplicates or like mirrored houses.
This is just a sun, right?
Yeah, that's part of the main scene.
Okay. I think that should be it for the basement. Wait, this. Okay.
Okay. I think that is all right. So actually, yeah, see if there's a whole nother half of a house that is like mirrored. Like if you go outside, how does the house set up? Yeah, so it looks like, and that's probably why there's so many. So go into the area just inside the porch there, and you can delete the porch light. And then go inside through the sort of like porch door. So you've got two kitchens here by the looks of it. So that's also okay. So this scene had a lot of, basically it had everything doubled, and that's why the lighting was also so bugged. You can just delete everything in like half of the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay.
When we have a duplex and stuff too, we don't bother setting up both kitchens because they're identical. If they really want to see what the other one looks like, we can just flip the image. I would, yeah. I'd be careful about deleting ones too far on the other side of the wall, but I think that's good. I think there's two here. Yeah, those two. And then maybe it looks like there's a couple in like closets or something. And then I think it's the other half of the house. Or So I think, yep, now you're in the other one. So, okay, so I think this is probably good. I don't see too many artifacts or anything weird going on anymore. Okay, so if you were to, the interiors are a little bit tricky right now because we're starting to implement a sort of automatic placement system for a lot of like appliances and stuff. Because normally we would start with you dropping in a set of appliances and cabinet faces and hardware. For like the drawer handles and stuff. So if you go into the kitchen there, you can see there's a box where a stove would be. There's like a sink thing. There's a cube, big tall cube for the refrigerator. And normally you would actually, what's going on with the corner pantry there?
This one right here, or right between here?
Yeah, what is that? What is this? It looks like there's two door frames sticking out from the wall. Yeah, check. Click on one of those door frames and delete that. Yeah. Okay. So that is a glitch probably caused by the automatic trim. Probably doesn't like 90-degree angles. So delete the ones that look like they're out of place.
Oh, that's no.
Okay, that looks good. All right. So yeah. So if you go into your project, go under the resources. Sorry, down to your project navigator under assets. That's well, it'll be under resources, but assets is just the main folder. So go to prefabs. Go to interior prefabs, and then there's one for cabinets, kitchen appliances, things like that. Basically, you'll just place and size all of those items. So if you go to kitchen appliances first, those are the big things. So just click on each of those, and the thumbnails should load, I think, or I guess not. I don't know, but you can see the preview in the bottom right of the inspector when you click on one. And you can see that is a microwave. So you'll just place these where they go. They might be scaled for a larger scene. So when you go in and you place one, you'll probably just have to make it smaller. You just drag and drop a prefab into the scene to place it. Yeah. So then that, and then scale it and rotate it.
This is the fridge, isn't it? Or are these just cabinets? I can't really tell.
No, that's the fridge. Yeah. So if you click on it too, it'll tell you. So if you click on it, look at the name. It's an appliance family. So it's what the fridge is supposed to be. And after you place the fridge, you can delete that thing.
Okay, cool.
It's okay if you have to scale the fridge a little bit disproportionately.
Is it okay as long as it like kind of?
Yeah, you'll probably want to make it a little bit bigger and a little bit taller. And it's fine if you make it bigger in one direction than the rest. So that's probably good. And then you probably want to make it bigger out from the sides so it fits a little bit more snugly. There. And then, yeah, make sure it's on the floor. So it's floating a little bit. You want to move it down. There. Put it a little bit more. And there. So you do that with the rest of the appliances. There's probably going to be, there's a box on the long side of the kitchen cabinets. There is going to be the range. You're going to want to replace that with the range provided in the project. So no, they're all going to be in that folder you have open right now. So look at the name. You had it there for, it's the range. So it's the one to the right there. Whirlpool built-in range. And you can look at the little preview window image.
It's just gonna fit right here, right? Yeah. What is this one?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Another one you'll probably want to make a little taller. You'll want to make sure it's the back of it is flush with the wall, and the front of it can come out a little bit, but if you think it's a little bit too thin now, you'll probably want to move it back and then scale it again. Sort of center it in that space, and then use the. Or you could even use the I don't remember what it's called. The other type of scaling tool, the one where you can grab an edge and drag it out.
Is it? I think
That one. So
that's right.
yeah. So then you can just grab a corner and then scale it like that. It should come out to the edge of the countertop. It's probably a little bit further, something like that. So then maybe a little bit taller so that it's flush with the countertop. Something like that. And then make it wide enough that it's touching those the side cabinets and countertops. There shouldn't be any noticeable space between the two. There you go. And then a little bit on the right as well. Okay.
Cool.
So then there's above the range is where the microwave is going to go. You'll just do the same thing for that. Basically, you'll just do the same thing for all the appliances. And then for the cabinets, there's a cabinet face folder. So there's going to be a couple of faces, different sizes. It's okay if the rails are not always 100% proportionate to each other and to the rest of the cabinets. But we'll cover that in a second. So it's actually it's down one. It's right below that. So usually in a kitchen, right above the range, there's sort of a what you had selected just now. You can actually probably just delete it. It'll be easier to fit it in the space rather than try to cover it up. So there. Usually there's a space for either a hood or a built-in microwave.
Cool. Should it also be like reach the top?
Yeah, it should fill that space evenly. It should probably stick out a little bit. So it should, if it's gonna be, something like that. And then probably make it a little wider as well, so you don't see the gaps there. And if your camera in the editor is moving in increments that seem too large, if you press F to focus on the object, it sort of remaps those. Oh, maybe not. Otherwise, what you can do is using the WASD keys while holding the right mouse button down, you can navigate it like it's a sort of free camera. So when you're holding down the right mouse button, so that it, the icon, I believe, becomes like an eye for panning the camera. Now you use WASD, you can move around a little bit easier, and you can change the speed by which the camera moves using the scroll wheel while you have the right mouse button down.
Yeah. Ah.
Yeah, and then you can change the speed of that with the mouse wheel.
Whoa. Cool.
just in case because I know the default camera can be a little bit tricky. In terms of like Unity scale, the houses we are working in are kind of small, or they're considered small in the scene by Unity. So like the camera moves in larger increments than what is sometimes convenient. But yeah, I mean the kitchen, after you do that, basically just replace all the appliances. And then you add the cabinet family names. I'm sorry, you just add the cabinet faces. We'll talk about family names later because we're, like I said, we're still in the middle of it. The family names on the things should already be what's working. So you shouldn't have to mess with it, but you probably will because either they're not supporting it in the catalog because they didn't get the information from Revit or something like that. But on a first pass, there's no reason for you to be messing with it too much.
Okay. Cool. Do you want me to just continue like putting everything in?
Yeah. So actually, we'll jump to the cabinet faces real quick. So go to interior prefabs. So if you look in your project there, it's just or you can do that. Yeah, cabinets and doors. So there's a cabinet face pack. It's the second one, I believe. So if you drag that into the scene, and then yeah, it's probably a little big, so you'll want to scale it.
Do these need to be rotated as well?
Well, you'll want to. So that is just a couple of. Yeah, you'll probably actually. I think the other side of it is the front. But these are pre-scaled. Well, their UVs are pre-scaled. But so what you'll want to do is sort of take those and use this as your source. Just select one of those and copy and paste it. You'll probably want to do each thing. You'll probably want to grab the sides and tops all together. So what I would actually do is if you right-click the object in the hierarchy, go to Unpack Prefab Completely. Now you can, now when you select those, it shouldn't select the parent object first. You should be selecting the thing. So yeah, so grab the tops and the bottoms and the middle face. And then I would actually just copy, I think you deselected it there on accident because it should just be one whole shape. So you want to select the middle as well. So there. When they're all selected, you'll just see the total outline. So I'd copy and paste these from here so that you have the originals, and then you'd move that into place. So looking at where the like handles are placed on those cabinets, those are going to be where your doors are at.
So kind of should I have like one here and then one right here?
Yeah, so that's how you're gonna the cabinet the handle placement is sort of gonna indicate the placement of the cabinets to you, and the handles always go in the lower corner of each of a cabinet. So probably want to raise it up a little bit. It's not going to cover the entire face of the cabinet box, and then you're going to want to scale it as well. Probably make it not quite as tall. So bring it down a little bit and then bring it up just a little bit as well. Something like that. It's probably better.
Cool.
And then you'll just copy and paste it and move it over and then resize it and keep going until you've covered all the cabinet faces. And then when you're done with that, you'll replace the placeholder knobs with one in the package. Now, if you're doing like an actual client kitchen, usually they'll give you specific stuff. This is just sort of generic things we have in the project, and since this is only a test, that's fine. Normally, you might be given a Unity package or told to get something out of Airtable. which I don't know if they've set you up with Airtable yet, but that's just where we keep all of our assets. So they'll have you go there soon enough.
Okay. Is it okay? I mean, this thing kind of went into the wall. Where'd it go? A little bit. Is that like an error I made, or is that okay to like bring in?
I would bring it in. Like, yeah, you don't want it to be clipping into the wall. And I would probably move the original cabinet faces from the pack just sort of off to the side somewhere, so they're not in your way there.
Okay. Is that?
Yeah, those ones. So it'll probably be. And then, so the drawer faces don't have styles and rails. So you can see that's what those ones in the bottom are. And you pick that one, and that one's fine probably. But there's a couple different ones. So for square cabinets, there's like a square cabinet you can see next to that one for the smaller square ones. You'll want to use that for more squat cabinets because the styles and rails will stay more proportionate. And then if you see down in the bottom, those two where there's the drawer face and then there's a tall thin one, that would actually almost probably work better for the cabinets you just did, but it's fine if you keep the ones you just did. Just keep that in mind, that you'll want to use cabinets that match proportionately, roughly what the shape of that is.
Okay. You just want me to remove these, right?
Yeah, just move them over because you're going to want to be working on those, on the cabinets that are just behind them, and it'll be obnoxious to have to work around them. So
I gotta go all. Okay. And I could just copy paste these ones down to here too, right?
yeah, and then you'll need to rescale them because you can see there's 3 handles there at the bottom. That means that one in the center is actually it's a drawer, and you can also click on the box that's attached to it. It should also should tell you. So you can see that's a cabinet box that would get its own face. That's a drawer box, so that will get a long the long horizontal one that does not have rails. So like, yeah, that one. You'll just want to scale it to the width of each thing. So that one is actually 2 different ones. So there'll be 2 drawers next to each other there.
Okay. Is there these 2 clip, or would that just like not look right? Should I like leave
No,
a little
they
space?
should, leave a little space. Each time if there's space, if there's like 2 separate cabinets or 2 separate drawer faces, you should leave enough space for it to be apparent that they're separate objects.
Okay. And for this one, do you think I can use this one for these ones right here, or should I just keep using these ones?
For those ones, I think you can use the top ones there because they're not so tall that they have super long styles. So the things running vertically along the edges, those are the styles, and then the top and bottom horizontal parts are the rails. So they're going to be called, they might have a style or rail family. But yeah, that's what we're talking about if we talk about the styles.
Nice. Does this look all right?
1 second. Yeah, that looks about right. I would actually lower them. Because like I said, where that drawer handle is where they should sort of line up in the corners. And you'll want to grab the middles too. Since they all are proportionate to each other in terms of height, you can grab them all at once. So yeah, then just drag that down a little bit so that those line up in the sort of center of the corner. Yeah, and then you could probably, and then if you have drawers right above them, you could probably lower those drawers. Like the drawers are probably a good size, but you could probably lower them a little bit. And that would also make them match the width of the of the things below. So you see how the gap between the two sets of cabinet doors is a little bigger. Make the gap between these two drawers match that, and sort of center it. So see how align the gap as well. So move that over, and then move that one over too. Maybe move the left one in. Yeah, something like that. And then I would move the drawer, the bottom edge of those two drawers down just a little bit more.
Of these two?
Yeah, just a little bit. Something like a little bit more. That's probably good.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. And just keep doing that for the rest of these ones right here too.
Yeah. So the rest of it, you'll just want to replace all of the cabinet doors on anywhere it is apparent that there's a cabinet, add a cabinet door. And then, so just because it's probably going to take you a little while, and I'll probably leave you to work on it for a bit. We'll cover a few little things here so that you can go back and reference them. If you go to your interior prefabs family again, or folder, when you're in the hierarchy, or I'm sorry, when you're in the project navigator, you see how there's a path at the top. It says assets, resources, prefabs, interior prefabs, cabinets, and doors. In the main part of the project navigator. Sorry, where your prefabs are shown there, just to your right, where your mouse is at, the big yep. So this is your navigator. So if you click the chain, one of the folders in the path chain there. So if you go to interior prefabs, then that'll take you to that folder. So then there is, so actually you'll want to still be in cabinets and doors for what we're going to do. So actually, yeah, go back to cabinets and doors. See that 3-panel door object?
Mm-hmm.
Drag that into the scene. Okay, cool. So you're going to want to replace the interior doors with that. So see that door there on the pantry. You'll want to replace it with this one. Do you have ProBuilder open? You can probably close ProBuilder. Because when ProBuilder is open, certain types of transforms and stuff become unavailable because it's contextualized. Then, yeah, so you'll want to delete the door that's there. Keep one of the placeholder handles there. You can probably delete the interior handle placeholder.
This one right here?
The interfacing one that you won't see. And is there a light in that cabinet or in that pantry?
Yeah.
You can get rid of it. Since the door is going to be closed, we're not going to need that. And then just move that in place, match the rotation of that threshold there, and then we'll see about and then you'll want to give it the proper door handle.
Not sure.
So, and if it ever is hard to differentiate objects you're working with when nothing is textured, feel free to just throw textures on stuff.
Cool. Is this rotated correctly? I don't know if I.
You'll need to just sort of, I would put it at the correct height, and then I would scale it to that it's a little wide. So I think if you hit pivot or global, it's because it's going to scale it a little weird right now because it's scaling it according to one of, an actual 90-degree angle. So if you go
Yeah.
up to your left, yeah, if you see those pivot and global buttons, click that. Click both of those and see if there we go. Now so when it's doing local space, you're getting like the right proportionate transform. So you want to make sure there aren't any gaps in the edges of the doors. But I think it's roughly the right rotation. It's 135 degrees. I couldn't tell you if it's exact, but it looks decent. So then the next part is if you go into your project navigator again, on the right there, it says door handle, I believe. So, yeah. So, yep, you'll want to move that. And you'll want to replace the doorknob that's there with this one. I would keep some object there, yeah, just so you know exactly where it goes. Because the placeholders are at the right height. It should be roughly...
Is there if I don't use the control while I'm doing that, just to kind of get a better one?
Yeah, as long as whatever works for you, as long as it looks accurate. And in this case, because there's an actual panel there, you'll probably want to center that in the middle of the rightmost panel that it's attached to. So you see how you don't want it to overlap with that indentation. You'll want to center it inside the right vertical panel that it's attached to. So like that, yeah.
This one should also be probably there.
Yeah. For handles and stuff, the base of it should probably clip into it a little bit, just so there's no gaps.
There should be really good.
Yeah. So then you'll also you'll do that for each door in the within the visible area of the kitchen.
Cool. Even
Now
these ones right here. Sorry.
No, so those are exterior things. What you're going to actually want to do for that is search in your hierarchy for. Actually, click on one of those window panes. Just see what the name is. Yeah, they're all window glass. Search for window glass. And then select all of the objects that have window glass. And then go into the mesh renderer panel. And under the cast shadows tab under lighting, turn that to off. And then under its materials, under element 0. So click the right thing. Sorry, under if you go down to the mesh renderer again, there's materials, there's size 1, there's element 0. It's right at the top of there you go. Click that. And then look for transparent. Yeah, just put in transparent. Yeah, and then there's window glass transparent. So select that. Do the same for door glass. So that's like a patio door. You're going to want to be able to see through that, and you're going to make sure it's not casting shadows as well.
Okay, so it's called door glass?
Yep.
I think it was.
Yep, turn shadows off under the lighting tab. Nope, sorry. You'll want to, don't uncheck that, but right above that is the drop down for casting shadows. So turn shadows off, and then give it the transparent glass material.
Cool.
So that's going to be a big part of, and then after you're done setting up the kitchen, and that's what some of the documentation says, but like I said, there's big chunks of that documentation you could ignore, like about pallets and stuff, because we're not going to really do pallets in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But just generally speaking, it's basically what we talked about. You replace all the appliances, you replace the doors, and you replace the cabinets. We'll do the hardware real quick. So there should be, that thing that says BlackRock, that is a piece of hardware. So actually, I would get out of your search thing. Yep. So taking that, drag and drop that. That is a cabinet handle. So that's what you're going to replace those knobs with. If it is a drawer, you make it horizontal. If it's a cabinet door, you just keep it like that. You just make it, you make it either sort of pinned at the top or at the bottom, depending on where that is.
Okay, so if it's excuse me. So if it's like right, these ones is just gonna go like this one's gonna go up here, and if it's like one of these, it's gonna go like side to side like that.
Yeah, and where you so if you move that up, you'll want the bottom sort of connecting point to be where that is. And for these, you'll want to make sure that they're on the like leftmost rail or the edge of the rail. Yeah, so these will probably not exactly line up with the placeholders. If it was a knob, you probably would. But yeah, so on the top here, you have that bottommost one line up with where the placeholder is. And on the bottom, you use the top one. So no, you'll want it a little bit lower than that. So you'll want the bottom connecting point to line up with where the placeholder is. So right there is probably good. And then you'll just do the opposite on the bottom. If it's a bottom drawer one, you have the top so that it's like. And in fact, those that drawer on your or that cabinet face on your left, the left one is probably too wide.
Okay.
The knob is actually not in the right spot. So you'll want to get your scaling thing and then bring it in from the right there so that the knob is in the corner. So let's bring the camera down a little bit. So you see how the knob is in the corner on the one on the right? You'll want to make this one do the same thing. So bring it a little bit more. So something like that. And I don't know if they placed these a little far apart or if these are supposed to be wider. I don't know. But that's probably better. But you'll want to just make any two pairs or any pair of cabinet faces like this. You also want to make sure they're like scaled together.
Okay.
So actually what I would do is just delete these. And then take that one on your left. And then, so take that pair, copy the pair over. And then scale these to fit that area, but scale them together like you have them now using the flat scale tool. That way they'll scale proportionately. And then bring it in from the left as well a little bit because it's clipping into that pair on the left. Oop, yeah.
Should I bring them into like a little blank? Is that good enough?
Yeah, that's good enough. And then so then that at least is scaled proportionally. And I guess the exact placement of those placeholders doesn't matter too much as long as the drawers look okay once you have the real hardware on them. Then once you've placed the real hardware, you can delete the placeholder.
I want this one more in the middle. Does that look all right?
Yeah, that looks fine. So then you'll just do that for all of them and the ones on the bottom and stuff. So then once you're done with that, the documentation on the lighting is pretty comprehensive. So when it comes to the lighting, one thing I would actually recommend is when you do the lighting, so if you search in your project navigator, search for like floor, and then there should be, go to click on that, just click on some of these and see which ones are materials. And you'll want a material that actually has like a thing on it. instead of one of these blank ones. So I believe these ones are real. So yeah, using that hardwood floor, drag that onto the actual floor. So it might be scaled a little funky. What is so click on that material again.
Mhm.
Go down. Oh, it might be. Is this locked? This one's locked. So this was actually from a project. I don't remember if there's a proper floor material included in this, but you can use these. You can just use materials to sort of create a facsimile of what type of material are going to be on what. Try searching for Backsplash. Click that first one. Oh, okay, so this doesn't have a lot of materials in it. Maybe I'll send you a material pack or something, because sometimes it helps when you're doing the lighting to have some kind of similar material on each surface. And you don't have to. It's not a necessary step by any means, but you will want to just make sure that like the lighting looks decent. And one other thing about the lighting is, so the lights are placed automatically, like we said, and we just deleted ones we don't think we'll need. There are usually hanging pendant lights over the island, and that's what those 3 rings are representing. Right now we're using a swapping system, which means you placed an object there that's an empty, or it's a cube, but you turn off the mesh renderer, so it basically appears as an empty, and that's used to instantiate one on runtime. I'll show you how to do that right now. So click on one of those objects, right, and then right click on it in the hierarchy. Go to create 3D object, or I guess it says 3D object. Go to cube. Okay. Now why did that cube go way over there? Oh, I know why the cube went over there. You know what, maybe that's not the best way to do it, because I forget these have a all of the Revit geometry has a center point of 0, 0, which means it's off in this corner instead of the actual center point of the object. So you can just delete that. Just going back to that, go to game object under your top menu. Create a cube. Okay. Now you'll want to center that cube roughly where that where each of those are. So you'll want 3 cubes, and you'll want the center point of that cube to be where the sort of where that ring meets the ceiling.
Okay.
And yeah, you want it, so essentially half of the top half of the cube will be clipping up through the ceiling.
Well. Okay. Try to scale it out so like it kind of goes more.
So this is kind of a complicated process. What you're going to want to do now is copy it and put one in each of this spot, for each light roughly. Okay, now that you have that, select all 3 of them. Go into the inspector there. So your elements on the inspector on your right. Under, you can get rid of the box collider. So click on the 3 dots on the very right side of so box collider is towards the bottom. The physics stuff is always towards the bottom of the inspector. So remove that component. Now under scale, make them all scaled at 1. So up in your transform, make them all 1 again.
For each X, Y, and Z.
Yep. They have to be scaled at 1 for this to work. Now, they're going to appear big, but it really doesn't matter. You're going to turn their mesh renderer off. So check or uncheck the checkbox next to the mesh renderer component so they become invisible. Now, name them in the inspector. No, you just name them in the inspector. So when you have multiple objects selected, name it pendant. So PEND underscore placeholder with a capital P, and then underscore object, capital O, and hit enter. Okay, so now when it's up, and you can actually delete those rings now. So now that game object has to exist for the game running in the server. There's the scripting. We have assets hosted somewhere where it will load one in at the center point of each of those objects, and it inherits the rotation and scale and position of these objects. So that's why they have to be scaled at 1, because the prefabs are already sized for this type of environment. So they have to come in at multiplied by 1 for them to maintain that size. And as for the rotation, it doesn't matter a whole lot on those. They were already at 0. Now we're going to do that one more time, but we're going to do it for the sink faucet. So create a cube and place it roughly where the faucet would go. It may already be placed roughly the right way. And yeah, and you can scale it while you're working with it. Just remember to always set the scale back to 1.
Okay. So just 2 cubes here and here.
No, sorry. So this is for the faucet. So the faucet is going to go roughly in the center of where that divider is, and then along the back sort of stretch of the thing there. So roughly there, and you're going to make sure that that center point is, it's clipping sort of halfway in and halfway out of that surface. So probably a little bit more. It might be a good, get real close to level with that countertop, and then just move it down. So try to level the camera with it roughly with the top part of the countertop, so that it's sort of like a line. So with the top part. Now this part. So like down a little bit. So like that. Yeah. You want to make sure that that center point. Now move the green arrow down just so that the center point matches out roughly where the very top edge of this is. There you go. Now I would move it forward a little bit, because you're going to want to make sure that's sort of then centered within that back part of the faucet basin sort of ring around it. So move it forward a little bit more. I would say that a fair amount of the box is actually in the sink. Something like this. So actually disable the mesh renderer right now, just so we're working more with that. So then you can see more that the center of those handles is really where it's going to go. So probably want to move it back a little bit, a little more. Something like that's probably good. So then I would get rid of the box collider again, use it in the inspector. Just remove the component entirely. Now, remember to set its scale back to 1, so under scale. Now, the thing about this asset is that its rotation is important. So in Unity, the Z-axis is the front of an object. So on the Z, you'll want to rotate it 90 or negative 90 degrees. Oh, actually, sorry, you don't want to rotate the Z. You want to rotate the Y so that the Z is forward. So the front of the sink is going to be the direction that is facing. So there. Now the front of the sink faucet is towards the sink basin, and that's how we're going to want the sinks oriented when they're loaded in. So that's a correct way to place a sink placeholder. Actually, you want to move that to the right so that it's centered there. Yeah. Now you'll call that. Let me check on what the one in my scene is called. Actually,
And this
I'm
is
just
like.
gonna.
Sorry, go
Sorry.
ahead.
I'm gonna paste it into the chat.
Okay. And this is like universal. So like whenever we come across something like this, like a sink faucet, I'll do the same procedure.
Yeah, starting now. We used to place them and then they get turned on and off depending on which one, but we'd be limiting ourselves then. So if you look now, that's going to be the name of the placeholder object for the faucet. So name that object that, and then you're good to go.
No capitals or anything.
No, this one is already set up the way it is, so that one is good. And actually, I'm gonna paste the other one. So I think in the past we've used capitals, but the one we have support for right now only has one capital for the pendants. So I'm gonna paste the one for the pendants. Go back in and just paste this over what the pendant placeholders are called.
Okay.
So it's basically you're just renaming it so that only pendant is capitalized.
That was for the ones up there, right? Or which one was
Yeah.
with? Yeah. Okay.
So you'll probably need to select them in the hierarchy, and they're all at the bottom there. So, and then hit enter, and there. So now those all have the correct name. So okay, so now basically that's the gist of it. Those are like the hardest things to do because that's a fairly new system, and it's kind of hard to place an empty where a thing is going to go. Now the only other you've got most of the appliances. There is the if you look on the inner part of the island there is sorry, the inner part so where it's facing like the stove, there's a box for a dishwasher. There's a dishwasher in the project. It's on the left. It kind of blends in. There you go. So you'll place a dishwasher there, and you'll actually will place a sink basin. That's somewhere in there.
This should reach the top of this little edge, I'm sure. Unless.
Yeah. So each time you're placing something, the space that the placeholder is occupying, make the actual one occupy that entire sort of volume as well. And you'll probably want to bring the bottom of that because it's clipping. Yep, it's clipping with the bottom up quite a bit, and that's probably good. And then, like I said, you're going to actually replace the sink basin as well. So if you look in your interior prefabs, there should be something about sinks. Yeah, so go down to the sinks folder. Look for, so those are some sink faucets. And now, like I said, before we were doing the placeholders, you would just actually place those objects. You'd probably place all of them, and then we have scripting that cycles through them. So that's the one you're going to want to replace the thing with that's there. So again, you're going to probably have to scale it. And for this one, you're actually going to want to rotate it too. See how the forward-facing sort of rim of it is wider? That is the part where the faucet connects to. So that you want that to be on the back end where the faucet will be populated.
So this side's going to be on flipped.
No, you actually you flipped it already.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Huh. Did that just delete the I think I just deleted the edge. Do I have to select this whole thing to delete? I think I got it.
Yeah,
now.
these are usually broken out into a few parts, so you can delete that all, delete that, and then delete the inner part, and then you can delete these boxes. So actually what happened there is part of that is the drawer itself. So actually if you you're going to want to undo until you get that one back. So there, but then there is the one on the right there. See that the middle part is like divided. Yeah, delete that. Then put the basin in place roughly. It's okay if stuff is clipping through. Then you'll want to maybe move it forward a little bit. I think actually that might be good. And you'll just want to double check your faucet placeholder object now. It should be proportionately in about the same spot. You'll want to lower it. And if you lower it and you're starting to clip through stuff, what you'll do is pro-builderize the cabinet box. So raise the camera up a little bit so you can see down if you like into the sink basin. So you'll want to get a higher vantage point and then look down in. So okay, so yeah, so you can see you're clipping into that. So you'll want to keep that in place. So click on the box then. So click on the white surface there. Now pro-builderize that. And then, and then select that face. So using the face selection tool, it's going to highlight, just click on it, and then just lower that until it's no longer clipping through any part of the sink. So looks like you're good there.
Cool. Do you think this need to be lowered anymore, or do you think that's pretty?
No, it's fine as long as you can't see. As long as it's not like clipping into the sink, it doesn't matter. Oh, but the sink basin itself, you probably need to lower a little bit and maybe make it a touch wider. So what you'll want to close ProBuilder. Yeah.
Yeah, because this looks like, I think there's like, yeah, that's something right there. Should I'm like still allowed to like change this up? Do it? No.
Yeah, and then maybe lower it just a touch. I think it's hovering just above the surface of the counter. Yeah, that's probably fine. It looks like it's making contact now. And then, like I said, just check on your faucet placeholder object. Make sure it's still in the center of that sort of like little raised surface. So that looks about right still. That's good. I'd maybe move it. No, actually, it's still good. It's probably perfect where it's at. So then, yeah, that's your face. I'm sorry, that's your sink faucet and the basin taken care of. Now, really, like I said, it's just fixing up the rest of the cabinets. Actually, can you click on the area behind, like the wall behind the stove there? So what does that say? Texture element. So this kind of depends on the house. Right now, we won't do anything with it because this one has a. You see, there's a counter, and then there's that little raised part. That's a side splash. Some homes have a side splash option, and then they also have an actual backsplash, which is when that whole section of the wall under the cabinets goes down to the edge of the countertop, and it's like a tile or it matches the countertop or something. You would add maybe a plane there. They're supposed to be adding those. Right now, we won't cover it. We'll have you set up the rest of it. So then we'll get back to that. But yeah, so get the rest of the cabinets in there. Get the rest of the doors in there. Take a look at the lighting documentation and make an attempt at doing that. If you have any questions, you can let me know. But do you think you understand sort of the rest of the process?
Yeah, I think I could definitely get the cabinets and stuff, and I can keep checking that PDF for the actual lighting stuff. So yeah, I think it should be good. If I have any more questions, I'll just ping you. And the
lighting is sort of the most nuanced part, and that documentation is trying to sort of clarify as much of that as possible. Mm-hmm. So yeah, after you set up the cabinets and that's basically the whole part of the kitchen. And then essentially, if you're doing a whole house, all you do is you do the same thing for like the bathroom. Usually they only have one type of bathroom faucet. We might start doing the sort of placeholder thing with the bathrooms, but the bathrooms just have their own versions of like the appliances you would apply to them. We're not going to have you do a bathroom quite yet, but it's like the same thing. Where there's a toilet placeholder, you just put a toilet. Where there's a, you put a mirror on the wall. Usually there's a little box where the mirror would indicate, and then you just do the same thing for the cabinet faces. But yeah, so yeah, I'll leave you to finish up setting up the cabinets and the hardware, and then try to do the lighting based on that documentation. If you have any questions, let me know, and then we'll review it. Either at the end of the day or on Monday or something.
Okay, yeah, because I'm gonna try to that sounds good. Cool. So, but lastly, just like when you guys are like putting in all these names and families and grouping them all in, like when you're copying and pasting, like why do you guys do that? Is it just so like when you're, because I always see you guys talking about families and stuff. Is it just like for documentation purposes, or why do you do that?
Well, it's the whole way that the configuration system works. So everything has to have a name in order for the catalog to identify and apply a material to it. Because if you looked at one of our visualizer links, you'll notice you have all these options, and it's like changing the materials that are on the floor and on the walls, on the appliances or whatever. That's only possible using on the back end, it's a mechanism that finds objects by name, and then every object with a shared name is part of that family, and then that family is in a string that then creates materials for any object that has that family.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So the families are the most functional part of it. So you make it look nice, and then in order for it to work, we have to make sure all the families are supported by the catalog.
Makes sense.
And so, yeah.
Cool. Actually, real quick, these little handlebars, when I put this down here, do you say that like the middle of the handlebar should be like the middle of this?
Yeah.
Okay,
The middle is going to be, when they're horizontal, the pivot point should be the middle. When they're, and then when they're vertical, depending on their top or bottom, it's either the bottom connector point or the top connector point.
Okay. And there's nothing else to do like here besides these cabinets. Like I don't have to is there like a desk or something or anything, or no? Or island, sorry.
Well, yeah, that's the island. It should already be set up to receive materials and stuff. Depending on the things, there might be like rework. Some builders want a ring of trim around their island base. Some don't. There's nothing to indicate here whether that's a thing. So that would be on a second pass after someone like the client or someone who's been working with the client has looked at it. But yeah, basically, this is good to go. There is staging, but I'm not gonna have you do any staging and that's just placing, like, there's a set of furniture essentially for each room that gets placed in a specific way so it can be turned on and off in the visualizer. But we'll cover staging after you attempt to light it, because that's sort of how it goes. Is we do staging after the scene is set up in every other way.
Cool. Wow, yeah, this is awesome. That's what I was kind of like hoping. Like, it just is cool. This is kind of what I wanted to do.